Wow, that is one vibrant lady in red. Thanks so much for coming, everyone, tonight. It's been a pleasure to be here. My name's Justin. I'm an exercise scientist, and I'm here to talk to you about the benefits of strength and balance training for older adults. So ultimately, the question I want you to think about is for yourself, or maybe friends or family, is this the life that you want going forward? Sorry, got that wrong. Is that the life, or do you prefer this life just here? All right. This is also really a personal topic for myself too. My two beloved teenage daughters are here in the audience. They continually tell me I'm getting old, all the time. And the evidence they use is this: my 50th birthday party earlier this year. I'm looking around the audience, there's some beautiful heads of hair I see here as well. However, you may notice I'm not likely to be described as having luscious locks, nor am I likely to star in a shampoo ad anytime soon. That was not always the case. Yeah. Being bald has lots of advantages. I save so much money on shampoo and conditioner. I never have to go and get a haircut. And when this happens, I know it's not me. Alright, I admit it. I wish I had a beautiful head of hair. Been looking for some options, and this one was one I thought was pretty cool.
It's great.
Maybe this one too. Alright, as well as being an exercise science researcher, I'm an eternal optimist and a Gold Coast Suns fan. I think that's actually the definition of an eternal optimist. We did finally win our first away game this year in over a year, so go Suns. Exercise scientists are people, we're pretty weird. We excel, or we try to excel in sport and exercise, as well as nerdy things like science and maths. So growing up, I was sort of part jock and part nerd. And what I'm trying to do now, totally new, I'm trying to excel in fashion. And I think I've nailed it. We remember that night. I grew up in a sleepy little town in North Queensland called Mackay. Some of you might know a bit about Mackay. So the first question you probably asked me, do I like rugby league? Do I know someone who owns a cane farm? And would I admit my beloved Mackay is just like Ipswich on the water? First question, yes, there's me. Loved rugby league growing up. My hero, who I wanted to emulate, was this guy, Mal Meninga. He would just run over anyone. And I looked up to him like, wow, this is a superhuman. I also played with some great players. So two guys that went on to play for Australia at senior level, Brett Dallas, and another guy you might know, Wendell Saylor. Unfortunately, out of those couple of people, I never got to play for Australia. Realised about 15 that was never going to happen. So at that point I thought, I want to try and help other athletes get better, but also to help older Australians live a more happy, functional life, independent in their own home, and do things that bring meaning to their lives. I still try to do everything as best I can, so here is my sporting highlight. Winning a strongman competition in New Zealand, and welcome to the Kiwis. All right, woo! And yes, I do admit, this happened. I still try to create personal bests with everything I do in the gym. So here's a photo that I'm really proud of recently. So yeah, check it out. I also started a martial art 3 years ago called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And so what I'm up against basically is a bunch of younger, faster individuals. So what could possibly go wrong? Yeah. So talking about my research now, again, my daughters, God bless them, continually tell me how I'm getting old and I'm losing muscle, strength, function, and probably a few other things. So we wanted to find out how prevalent this muscle weakness was in the Australian communities. So we looked into, this is our first study, 245 older adults living in the community. They're all accessing some type of government-aged care. And we found almost half of them we diagnosed with muscle weakness. Nursing homes is another sector of the older adult community. So here we have almost doubled to 87%. So we also know many older adults aren't that physically active, and ultimately only about over 80% have never done any strength training in their life. So ultimately, if you look at the average older person, probably the heaviest things they pick up might be a beautiful tray of biscuits. And God bless this gentleman. A nice cold beer. Get those bicep curls in, gents. So what this means is, unfortunately, the chances of some of these individuals continuing to live a long, healthy, independent life is just as likely as my beloved Gold Coast Suns winning enough games away from home that at the end of the year, we'll see them on the MCG holding up the premiership trophy like Collingwood did last year. Any Collingwood fans in the audience? Boo. So, how do we offset this muscle weakness and the disability that comes with that? Strength and balance training are crucial. So, it allows our older adults to continually do the things that bring meaning to their lives with their friends, or perhaps just things that you like to do on your own. So the first study I'll tell you about is our Muscling Up Against Disability trial. It involved the 245 older adults I mentioned before. They did 6 months of training, 2 days a week, strength and balance training. But the most crucial thing about this program was the exercise professionals we had for the program. They were exercise physiologists, they all had postgrad qualifications, they were really experienced working for older adults, and some even had national and international awards in this field. And here's just one of them. Yeah. So at the end of the study, I'm just presenting some of the results here for the lower body strength. They averaged over 200% increases in their strength. And this allowed them to massively increase their function and their balance. Interestingly, when we looked at them, they didn't appear that much different at the end of the program. So ultimately, they only put on average, a little bit less than 1 kilogram of muscle, and they lost, again, about 1 kilogram of fat. So very little changes in what they actually look like, but they were so much more functional. You might know an exercise modality called kettlebell. So here's one of those exercises, the kettlebell swing. This study, there was 6 weeks of training for physiotherapists and then 6 weeks at home. It was during COVID. Lots of strength and balance and function improvements, but we're more interested in finding out what they thought about the program, both before and after. So, initially, they were a little bit scared, a little bit anxious, that they might look a little bit silly. But there was a host of benefits they spoke about later. So they spoke about a lot of physical and psychosocial benefits. They spoke about their chronic disease symptoms disappearing, being able to do the things they love to do. They felt they could overcome any challenge in life. And they felt they could, this is a new group of people that they could be friends with, a great community. The next question we looked at, can we improve the lives of people living in nursing homes? So, study we started with 37 older adults, none of whom could get out of a chair with their hands on their chest unassisted. So they did 3 months of training, 2 times a week, nothing more complicated than some chairs and dumbbells up to about 4 kilograms. At the end of the program, they could all, on average, perform 6.5 sit-to-stands with their hands on their chest. So this massively improved their function. And I'm not sure if I think there were some kids here before, but what this allowed them to do was actually to play with their grandkids and do the stand-up, sit-down movement song that apparently is taking over the world. The next study, we wanted to improve their walking ability, which is that next level of function. So it was a 6-month training program, again twice a week, and we focused on more sort of challenging stepping, balance and walking tasks, like you can see behind me. And at the end of the program, they increased their regular walking speed by 19%, which makes a massive difference in their ability. So some of them were getting around like this at the end of the training program. I acknowledge that not everyone can get into a university study, or maybe going to a gym is a little bit scary or something. So something we can do is called exercise snacking. We wrote a little article, myself, a colleague, and Jackson Fife in a conversation, about 5 minutes if you want to read, get a little bit more detail. But in essence, it means just doing a little bit of strength and balance work throughout your day, just when you've got a little opportunity. So you might be sitting down with your friends, watching a movie, have some popcorn. Perhaps hop up every now and again and do a few sit-to-stands. Instead of reaching for your favourite chocolate bar, maybe reach for some other type of bar. So I think it's important we have these conversations with the people around us, particularly if they start talking or showing some signs that they can't do the things that bring joy to their lives. But particularly gentlemen, just be a little bit careful that it's not this sort of situation where you say to your loved one that they need to get more physically active. It might not be received in the best way. So you might also see in the media some individuals that look like this, or like this. So while they can inspire some people, they're not necessarily going to be physiques that even the average 20 or 30-year-old can attain. So we need to make sure the message is about function rather than looking ripped and jacked, or whatever the term might be. And even for me, before the exercise I've done in my life and continue to do, I also have to admit I don't have the ripped abs of a fitness model. Sexy. So, to wrap up, what I'd like to think we could do after tonight is just have those conversations with the people around us. Look to do some of that exercise snacking. So do some sit-to-stands, some modified push-ups, some calf raises, those sort of things at different points of the day. Where possible, that might be the stepping stone to go to a gym. So again, you might use some barbells or machines, follow some of those prescription details there, which the evidence suggests is most appropriate. But the most important thing is make sure you have fun. Do it with friends, get dressed up silly, and particularly for those older adults with some chronic diseases, super important again to get that excellent supervision initially from those university trained professionals. Again, someone that looks a little bit like that. Thank you very much, everyone. It's been a blast.